Hey guys, welcome back. Boots Come in Pairs, a little different format than what we've usually been doing. We're going to do a couple of videos that are a little shorter, a little more focused on the content, and something that I want to personally talk about, the Cubs right now with their ownership and lack of spending. We kind of touched on it with Kyle Stanley in our podcast, but also with Cubs conventions happening, a lot of stuff coming out with Tom Ricketts and if he's cheap or not. The family, Ken Rosenthal came out with an article kind of calling out Cubs ownership again. And that's kind of what I want to address without getting too frustrated, because I think we're all pretty frustrated. As you know, our podcast, we try to talk mostly about baseball, but we are Cubs fans. That seems to be front and center. And it's hard to compare to the Dodgers and Mets with all their spending, especially the Dodgers, because they seem to get all of the attention here with the offseason. But I want to, again, focus in on just what the Cubs are doing and who to blame, really, for this. I feel like Tom Ricketts gets most of the blame. He kind of came out, and he is kind of the face for the Rickett family, the ownership group, and all that stuff. So it's easy to point the finger at him. He's like, I'm tired of walking around the ballpark and people telling me, we're cheap. We're not cheap. Okay. I think there's a lot of layers here. I think there's a lot of things to digest with it. Again, you got to separate the emotion a little bit. We'll try and do that. And this was, again, just something we want to get off the plate here. I don't think the ownership is cheap. I guess it's hard to say, again, millionaires spending lots of money, that they're cheap. I do think Tom Ricketts gets a bad rap because he's kind of the face for everybody. No one else is around the ballpark. He's the one that's most visible. They do have investors. Okay, that's great. But I think we're past the point where this team is willing to spend to win a World Series. When this ownership group took over, their big promise was, we want to win the World Series. We're going to build to win the World Series. They did that. They were successful in 2016 building a World Series. Do I believe right now they are currently committed to doing that? No, I don't. I don't think any of the moves that they're making right now, again, Kyle Tucker is a good player. It's not that they're not putting good players on the field. Dansby Swanson is a good player. They spent some money. They are not committed to spend to win a World Series. Doesn't mean they're not trying. Again, they're not trying to be competitive. I'm not saying that. They're not willing to do what the Dodgers are doing. That's very obvious. They also bring up their financials that, they try and break even. And this was a big point in the Ken Rosenthal article and video that he posted. We don't really know how much the Cubs earn, right? They're not a publicly traded company. Everything's internal. We don't know what any of these teams really bring in. We can look at what Forbes shows us. Again, Kyle Stanley did a great breakdown on, what Forbes shows us, and that the Cubs, are one of the highest revenue generating teams in the league, and they're 14th in spending. So that alone should tell you, hey, they should spend a little more. But this whole notion that they break even, we don't know that. And also we can't discredit the rooftops that he owns, the hotels that he owns. And I think this is the biggest disconnect right now between the Ricketts family and the investors and the fan base is we don't care about your other investments. We don't care, what else you have going on, and that you've built the ballpark up and you've taken out personal loans. It shows with the product and how much you're willing to spend on the field. That's what tells fans your commitment level. And right now, it seems like they're committed to, but it's the other problem. They haven't said this. It seems like they're committed to the prospects that they've recuperated. So Pete Armstrong, the prospects that they are growing up, the Matt Shaws, the pitchers that they're growing up, Ben Browns, that seems to be the direction, but they're not saying that because that doesn't sell tickets. We're not excited about that as fans. And Ryan will get on me all the time about how, you don't believe in prospects. Yeah, because they're prospects. They haven't played yet. But that seems to be the direction they're going. I think the biggest setback with all of this, again, was pointing back to the 2016 World Series. There was such a build-up to that. And you also thought that team was going to be around for 5, 6, 7 years, and they had a great run to get to the World Series, but they're no longer in that. They've won. The sad part about it is we are 10% of the way back almost to 100 years. It's been, 8, 9 years almost since they won the World Series. So it's like, how long do we have to wait? Here's my other trap with Cub ownership. The Cubs sell out almost every game. If you go to Milwaukee, if you go to Pittsburgh, we've been to all these ballparks, they don't sell out on Tuesday and Wednesday. The Cubs sell out almost every game. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, complete sellout. They don't need the postseason to hit their numbers. A lot of these teams, some of the only games they sell out are the postseason. So I'm sure the Cubs would like it. It is a bonus to play there. They don't have to live in these margins of we need postseason success. If you weren't aware, again, I live in Milwaukee, so I was aware of what was going on. The Brewers, for the divisional round, and this is going to be shocking for people that aren't around this kind of industry and environment. The Brewers sold $10 tickets to the divisional round last year to fill out the stadium because they hadn't got enough interest. Granted, the games were on a Tuesday and Wednesday, but they were selling for $10. You tell a Cubs fan, like, oh, here, $10. Those would be sold in 3 minutes. They're not that price. They're $300, $400, $500 for any postseason game for the Cubs. So that's the difference, right? So, but the Cubs are not operating on a small market budget. I don't like the notion of that. But I think this is a real indictment on, again, the Cubs ownership. They're blaming the salary cap and that how these other teams are spending so ridiculous. I think that, again, you want to be true to yourself. We are not willing to spend to compete for a World Series, and that's really what we're talking about. The other thing is good players know when teams are all in, when they're willing to spend. I'm not saying it's everything. Chicago also sells itself. People come here, they love it. Cody Bellinger had a great experience here. He also wanted to be a Yankee. Those are great experiences. When you get people here, they love it. But there's a reason why the Dodgers are kind of the promised land right now, right? They're going to pay, and they have the resources to do that. So again, I'm not asking the Cubs ownership to, do something they're not comfortable with. If this is what you're telling us is the reality, that's fine. But don't play us along like, oh, Cubs fans don't understand. We spend so much money. No, we do. But also our expectation has been raised on what to expect when we come out to the ballpark. Again, I think Wrigley Field is a big trap. It really is. So for the ownership, I think the pressure is off to win. I don't know if this ownership group is going to pursue another World Series. And if me as a Cubs fan, it just stinks because then to sell the team. That's how you feel about it. I'm not sitting there screaming, like our friend John at a White Sox game to sell the team, but that is kind of how you feel. You wish we were, the Mets, the Dodgers, because, those are fun organizations to be a part of. So I think there's a ton of frustration. I think and it's warranted. I think there's a ton of, media. Again, look at the Ken Rosenthal article and videos he's put out. He's called them out multiple times. He's a very credible baseball writer. It's reaching that level. Again, you're a big market team. Play like it and also spend like it. So again, and thanks for listening to my little rant about it. But I think, again, it's good to get these thoughts out. And I think it's going to be something we're going to be watching throughout the entire baseball season. So we'll maybe post some more videos like this. But until next time, Boots Come on Pairs. Take it easy, guys.